What's up, guys? Welcome to Chess Games. Today I'm very excited to kick off a new series, which I'm titling Road to Rapid Top 1000. Now, a lot of people, when they play chess online, they tend to play shorter games like Bullet and Blitz, where the games are fun and you can learn something, get some quick chess in, but in my experience, you learn a lot more from shorter games where you have to really think through your decisions and really calculate. So recently I've been playing a lot more what's called rapid chess, which is any time control that's more than 10 minutes aside. And the chosen setting that I have is 15 minutes per side with 10 seconds increment, which means 10 seconds that you get added on after every move. And I've been playing this consistently every day for the past couple of weeks now. My goal is to play at least like 1 to 2 games a day. And with this series, I'm going to be bringing you my best game from every week. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean a game that I won, but it's going to be the game that I learned the most from. But today, it maybe won't be the game that I learned the most from. It's just going to be the most exciting game, but I promise that it's not going to be just victories. And actually, if we look at the leaderboards, the top 1,000, to get into the top 1,000, you really only need a rating of about 2,080, and my rating currently is just under 1,900. So to increase my rating by 180 points, I don't think is unreasonable. How many games is it going to take? It's kind of hard to say because it depends on who you play. But when you play someone that's close to your rating level, you will get anywhere from 7 to 10 points for a victory. So essentially, to get up to where I want to be, I have to net like 25 wins. So over the next X number of weeks, I need to win 25 more games than I lose. So it's going to be an interesting challenge, but without further ado, let me show you the very interesting game that I had today. And with the white pieces is myself, and with the black pieces is a Pakistani player with the username Hater Chess. So I opened with e4, and my opponent played knight c6. Already kind of an unusual move. This is called the Nimzovich defense, where after d4, which is what I played in the game, my opponent played e6, but the more common move is d5. And the idea here is after pawn takes, queen takes, and now black is going to exert a lot of pressure on the d4 pawn. But my opponent played a little more passive approach. He played e6, and I just developed the knight. He developed his knight, and now I took this as an opportunity to just already go aggressive from the gate and attack his knight. His knight's going to have to move somewhere, and he jumps right into the center where it's going to get attacked, and I decided to attack it with my bishop. So now he obviously has to defend it. He defends it with a pawn, and now I could have gone one of two ways. I could have just brought my knight in to attack him again, but then I was a little bit worried that he was going to try to create this like super formation around the knight, although I could have just took en passant and tried to exploit his weak pawn, but I decided to just take en passant right away, forcing his knight to retreat and recapture the pawn. And now his knight is in a very odd position. Usually you don't see a knight on d6 like this because it's blocking the bishop and it doesn't really have a direct square to jump to. So I followed up with bishop g5, attacking his queen. And now he blocked with the bishop, but my intention was not to take, but rather to play h4. A very aggressive jump. And the idea is, if he were to take my bishop, I could just recapture, and now all of a sudden my rook is open, and I have the h-file. So that's obviously good for me, so he's not going to go into this. He played h6. So now, a lot of times what people are tempted to do is just trade pieces in a situation like this. Bishop is under attack, seems logical to just take, but in that case, the queen would recapture, and this is actually helping him. So what my recommendation is, you shouldn't trade pieces unless you really have to. I know it's tempting, but you have a lot more attacking chances if you just keep all the pieces on the board. And also, by me retreating here and him having to keep his bishop and his knight here, his pieces are very bunched up. They're not well coordinated. They're not actually on good squares. And you're going to see this is going to cause him some early problems. So he actually just castled. And I decided to shore up my defenses here to stop the knight from potentially jumping into this b4 square. So now, like we saw, his knight's in a bad position and needs to find a better square. So he actually jumps back, trying to reroute the knight to a more natural position like f6. And immediately I realized, like, he's already on the back foot. I gotta try to attack as soon as possible. So I just developed my last minor piece, knight d2, and finally his knight gets to f6. And now time for my queen to develop, which it's going to try to get into the game, and also it's a flexible position where I can castle either way. And I'm obviously leaning towards castling long because I already moved this pawn. I have potentially an attack here, so I'm looking to castle long. So in this position, I think a good move for him would have been maybe knight d5, try to attack the bishop. Instead, he moved his bishop to d6, trying to trade off. And I knew I did not want to trade, even though it wouldn't be bad for me, but after something like this and long castles, I feel like I'm giving him too much time to kind of get settled and do what he wants, and I want to go for his neck. So I played bishop g5, which looks like a very strange move. I'm putting my bishop in direct contact with his pawn. His pawn can just chop my bishop's head off if he wants to, but this is the idea. If he were to take, I recapture with the pawn, and now my rook is just an absolute machine, bearing down on the h-file. His knight's under attack, and if he were to move, now bishop h7 check, king h8, and I actually have a forced mate coming up after queen e4. And suddenly, my bishop is lined up with his king, waiting to jump out the way so that the rook can attack, and my queen is also ready to come in, and he actually has no way to really defend. For example, if you were to play this move g6, then I just take, and after king here, I can just bring my queen in, and it's going to be checkmate either here or here. If you were to go here, then check, king has to retreat, check, check, and again it's going to be checkmate eventually. And if you were to do something else, like maybe throw the knight in here, then I can sacrifice the bishop and deliver checkmate on h7. So already in this position, I would have had some killer threats. So he recognized some danger. He decided not to take. Instead, he developed his rook, preparing to maybe push this pawn, seeing as how my king is uncastled. Opening up the position would be good for him. So now I was thinking of how can I continue this attack. I was thinking of just eliminating this knight right away to free up some space in the center, but I decided to go knight e4, attacking his bishop and putting pressure on his f6 knight. So he retreated, obviously to defend the knight, and now I played knight takes f6, getting rid of his knight, bishop takes, and now queen to e4. And once again, I'm daring him, take my bishop, see what happens. And he decided actually to take it. And as I was sitting here thinking, am I going to be able to actually win this? Like, do I have enough to actually deliver checkmate? I wasn't sure.
And suddenly I was happy. I find brilliant idea.
He takes, pawn takes, knight takes, bishop takes, and queen takes. It seems like he's okay. But suddenly then my rook would jump to h8, sacrificing itself, and I would deliver checkmate finally on h7. So I kind of had to look like 5 moves ahead, but I realized that if he were to take, I'm practically winning. And I really didn't think that he was going to. I thought that he was just going to play g6, after which I probably would have taken, he would have taken, and then after maybe a move like this, to try to open up his defenses, and we would have traded. Then I would have probably just castled long, and I'm definitely better here because I have a lot of pressure against his king side with the bishop and the queen and the rook here. But it's by no means over. Like, he still could have tried to do something. Instead, however, after me baiting him for 2 moves, he took, and after I recaptured, he probably realized that, okay, I messed up here, and he decided to go queen here, but again, same idea as bishop takes, it doesn't matter, bang. And as soon as this move hit, he resigned, realizing that he's getting checkmated because only move is to take, and that would be followed with queen h7 mate. And the only other thing he could do to prolong the game would have been to block the queen with this move, but I still would just take, and this rook is just super powerful. I would still be a lot stronger, but still would have been a fight. And after I kind of analyzed this game, I went back and I realized that the moment where he really should have taken the bishop was probably here, because now I have kind of so many knights in the way that I wouldn't be able to checkmate quickly. And for example, in a position like this, I had to really sit there and think for a while on what to do. How would I have actually won this? Even though the game is over, I already won, but I have to prepare myself for a time when I'm going to play a stronger opponent and they're actually going to do something that's going to challenge me even more. So I thought about it, like, how do I capitalize here? And I realized the best move here is to go pawn to g3, which is crazy. It looks like this move does nothing, but really it stops the knight from coming here. And we already have this pawn stopping the knight from going this way. So these pawns are like little spikes that are just discouraging the knight from doing anything. And also it kind of clears the space for potentially the queen to come in and again attack the king. So after a move like g6 to try to bring some space for the king, I could just long castle. And after king to g7, now there's this crazy move knight e5. So even though I'm down a piece here, I would still be a lot better because his entire queen side is just sitting dormant. Hasn't developed. It's going to take a while even to think to develop it. So this would be a really strong move because let's say he takes and I take. Now f4 attacks his bishop and also creates some space for the queen. And I'm not going to get into the whole variation and the little intricacies of what could have happened, but trust me, this would have been really strong for me, and I think I definitely would have still won. So anyway, I think a pretty interesting game for week 1 of Road to Rapid Top 1000. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll be sure to try to bring you more interesting games like this in the future. Take care.